In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to knit this quick and easy hat. It's only a 4-row repeat pattern and it's knit in the round. It's for children 10 and up, teens, adult women and men with a head circumference between 21 and 23 inches. You can easily adjust the sizes. In the information box, I'll go ahead and leave some information on how you can do that, so make sure to look there. I will also leave the link to my Etsy shop if you prefer written pattern. Thank you so much for your support. Now let's get started, and thank you so much for watching. Okay, to knit this hat, I'll be using these 4mm knitting needles. I'm going to be using these short needles. These are 16-inch long. You can also use longer knitting needles and just use the magic loop technique to knit the hat in a round. Like I said, I'll be using these shorter ones. These are 16-inch and they are 4mm size. Now, the yarn that I'm going to be using is this here. This is DK weight yarn. You can also use number 3 or 8 ply. So here, the first thing that we need to do is we need to cast on our stitches. We're going to use the long tail cast on method. So to begin here, I'm going to show you how to cast on your stitches. We're going to cast on a total of 129 stitches. Now to do this, I like to use both needles, but because my cable is so short, I'm going to use these other needles here. These are the same size. We're going to use the long tail cast on method, so I like to measure my yarn for this method. So what I do is I wrap the yarn around 20 times both needles. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now I have enough yarn for about 20 stitches. I need to cast on a total of 129. So we're going to double it up. That's enough for about 40 stitches. Double it up again. It's enough for 60. Double it up again. It's enough for 80. Double it up again. We have enough for about 100 stitches. Double it up again. We have enough for about 120 stitches, and I'm going to double it up again, and I'm going to leave it like this, maybe a little bit less, so it would be about, I don't know, about half, like that. So now we're going to make a slip knot here. Now this yarn is what we just measured, and this here is coming from the skein. Now insert both needles here. Normally I would use both of them like this, but since it's a short cable, I'm going to use the other needle here to help me. So here with the long tail cast on method, you just insert your finger through the center and open the yarn, and we're going to go from left to right, and we're going to grab a loop like this. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on until you have a total of 129 stitches. Now continue. I'll meet you at the end of this row. I finished casting on my stitches. I have a total of 129 stitches. Now carefully remove that second needle. In my case, it's the bamboo one. So here are my stitches. The last stitch here is on my right needle. Now make sure that your stitches are not twisted because we're going to join in the round. Now I have an extra stitch here. I'm only going to need 128 stitches for the brim because I want this to be in a multiple of 2, so I have 129. I cast on that extra stitch so that we can join in the round. So to join in the round with the extra stitch that I have here, remember I have 129 stitches, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring the first stitch that I cast on, and I'm going to bring the last stitch that I cast on over the first stitch like this, and I'm going to drop that stitch. Now pull on the yarn here, and now we are joined in the round. I'm going to place a stitch marker now to mark the beginning of the row. This is my beginning of the row marker. There. Now we can begin with the ribbing here. For the brim of the hat, I'm going to do a 1x1 ribbing just like I did here with this hat. I already have a tutorial for this hat. I'll leave the link down here in the information box. I'm going to do it exactly like this one where I knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one. Here I'm going to do a total of 16 rows, and then we're going to do a fold row where we do 3 rows here so that it stays folded, and then I'm going to do 12 rows here. So 16, 3 rows for the fold, and then 12 rows here for the back. So to begin here, I'm going to start with a knit one. Here's the first stitch. So knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one. And that's how I am going to continue for this first row. So continue like this, just alternating between a knit one and a purl one all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of this first row. I'm here at the end of the first row. In this row, I knit one, purl one. I have a total of 128 stitches. I forgot to mention that after we joined and we used that extra stitch, I was left with 128 stitches. So from here on for the brim, I'm going to have 128 stitches. At the end of the last row for the brim, I'm going to add an extra stitch because I want to make sure I have multiples of 3 in order to begin the pattern for the hat. But I'm going to show you that once we get to that point. So here, to finish the row, here's a knit stitch. So the last stitch has to be a purl stitch. If for some reason you have a knit stitch here at the end somewhere along this first row, you have 2 wrong stitches. It has to end with a purl stitch. So now past the stitch marker. Now for rows 2 up to row 16, you're just going to repeat the same thing. You're going to knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, like this all around. Just knit one, purl one. And we're going to do this for a total of 16 rows, like I said. So right now we're doing this part here. So continue. Let's finish these 16 rows, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making this part of the brim. I did a total of 16 rows. Now this part here is measuring about 2 inches, which is about 5 centimeters. Now what we're going to do next is the fold. This part here, as you can see with this hat, when you unfold it, this part here has like a crease. So that's what we're going to create with this hat. If you don't want to make this crease here or this fold, then just go ahead and continue and make a total of 12 rows, which is what I'm going to do after I do this part here. So to make that fold, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to finish this last stitch here. This would be the end of row 16 past my stitch marker. So to do that fold, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to slip the knit stitches purlwise with the yarn in the back, and I'm going to purl the next stitch. Slip the knit stitch with the yarn in the back purlwise, and then purl the next stitch. So basically here we're going to be slipping the knit stitches purlwise, and we're going to be purling the purl stitches. That's how the crease here is created. So all you do is just slip the knit stitches purlwise and purl the stitches. When you slip the knit stitches, make sure the yarn is in the back, and then you purl the next stitch. So slip, purl, slip the knit stitches purlwise, and then purl. Continue like this for this first row. I'm going to do a total of 3 rows, so I'll meet you at the end to show you how you're going to continue for the next 2 rows. I'm here at the end of this first row here for this fold that we're going to do in the middle of the brim. I'm going to pass the stitch marker. So what you need to do for row 2 and 3 is just repeat the same thing. You're going to slip the knit stitches purlwise, and then you're going to purl the next stitch. Slip the knit stitches purlwise, and then purl the next stitch. And that's how you're going to continue here, and we're going to do a total of 3 rows. So this would be the second row. Continue, finish this row, and then go ahead and make 1 more row. So that would be row 3. I will meet you once this part here is done after 3 rows to show you how we're going to continue again with this part of the brim. I finished making these 3 rows here to create that fold in the hat. Now in this 3 rows, what we did was slip the knit stitches purlwise, and then we purled the purl stitches. Now we're going to continue with the knit 1 purl 1 again, just like we did this here, and we're going to do this for a total of about 12 rows. So now here, this is the first stitch. I accidentally slipped it, not realizing that I had finished the row. So here to begin, you are going to knit the knit stitches and purl the purl stitches once again. So knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. And that's how you're going to continue for this row, and here we're going to do a total of 12 rows. So continue, let's finish this part, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. At the end of row 12, I'm going to add an extra stitch, so I'll meet you 1 stitch before we finish row 12 to show you how I'm going to make that increase. I'm here at the end of the 12th row. Now here at the end I have 1 last stitch, and I'm going to make 1 extra stitch here at the end of the 12th row so that I finish this row with 129 stitches. Right now I have 128, so I need to increase 1 stitch so that at the end of this row I have multiples of 3. So to do this, I have the last stitch and I have this second to last stitch. I'm going to lift up this bar that's between both stitches, bring it over the left needle, and I'm going to knit through the front. So this is a make 1 right. So there's that increase, and now just purl the last stitch. Now pass the stitch marker, and for 1 row all we're going to do here is just knit all around like this. So after this row I'm going to start the pattern for the hat. So continue, finish this row where you just knit all of these stitches, and at the end of this row I'm going to have 129 stitches, which is multiples of 3. Continue all around. I'll meet you at the end of this row. I finished making this row where I knit all around. I have a total of 129 stitches. Now the brim is done, and this is how it looks. So here we did a total of 16 rows of knit 1, purl 1, and then we did the fold here for 3 rows, and then here we did a total of 12 rows. At the end of the 12th row we did an increase, a make 1 right. Row 13 I knit all around, so I finished the brim. Now I'm going to start the pattern here that I'm going to use to make the hat. This pattern consists of repeating 4 rows, so this would be the first row. So for the first row I am going to purl 2 and knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2, knit 1. Continue like this all around. I will meet you at the end of this first row to the first repeat. I'm here at the end of this first row here for the body, and this is where we have started the pattern. I have finished the first row. I have a total of 129 stitches. Now in this row we purl 2, knit 1. Pass your stitch marker. For row 2, this is what we're going to do. We're going to purl 2, and I'm going to slip 1 purlwise. Purl 2, slip 1 purlwise. Purl 2, slip 1 purlwise, and that's your repeat. Purl 2, slip 1 purlwise. Continue like this for this second row. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the second row. In the second row of the pattern, I purl 2, slip 1 stitch purlwise. I'm at the end of the row. Pass your beginning of the row marker. And now for row 3 of the pattern, in this row all we're going to do is just knit across. So you're going to knit every single stitch all the way to the end. At the end of each row from here on, we're always going to have 129 stitches. And that's how I'm going to continue for the third row. I'm just going to knit across. Continue like this. I'll meet you at the end of this row. I finished the third row. In this third row of the pattern, I just knit across. Now for the fourth row of the pattern, this is what we're going to do. We're going to knit 2 and then slip 1 purlwise, knit 2, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2, slip 1 purlwise with the yarn in the back. Again, knit 2, slip 1 purlwise, knit 2, slip 1 purlwise, and that's your repeat. Continue like this all around for this 4th row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 4th row. Now my last stitch here is a slip 1 stitch purlwise. Now this completes the 4-row repeat for this pattern stitch, and as you can see, it's very pretty. So now we're going to repeat the same thing. You're going to repeat rows 1 through 4 to complete the pattern. So now past your stitch marker, I'm going to show you one more repeat here. For the 1st row, remember that we purl 2 and we knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, and that's the repeat. This is row 1 again. So continue for this row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this 1st row again. I started one more repeat here. In the 1st row, we purl 2, then knit 1. In this 2nd row, I'm going to purl 2, and I'm going to slip 1 purlwise, purl 2, slip 1 purlwise, purl 2, slip 1 purlwise, and that's your repeat. Purl 2, slip 1 purlwise. Continue like this for this 2nd row. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 2nd row of this 4-row repeat pattern. Now in this 2nd row, you purl 2, then slip 1 purlwise. Now past the stitch marker. Now in the 3rd row is where we knit across all of the stitches. Just knit all around like this. So continue for the 3rd row where you knit all of your stitches. I will meet you at the end of this 3rd row. I'm here at the end of this 3rd row of this 4-row repeat pattern. Now in this row, I knit all around. Now past your stitch marker, and for the 4th row, in the 4th row, we are going to knit 2, and then slip 1 purlwise, knit 2, and then slip 1 purlwise, knit 2, slip 1 purlwise. Continue like this to complete this 4th row, and that's going to complete these 4 rows for this pattern. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the 4th row of this 4-row repeat pattern. In this 4th row, remember that we knit 2, slip 1 stitch purlwise. Now you're going to pass your stitch marker, and then you're going to begin again the 1st row of the repeat. So in the 1st row, I'm going to start you off here. We purl 2, and then we knit 1. We purl 2 and knit 1, and that's how you're going to continue for this row. In the 2nd row of the repeat, you purl 2 and then slip 1 purlwise. We always slip these stitches purlwise. Now in the 3rd row of this repeat, we knit all around, and in the 4th row, you knit 2 and then slip 1 stitch, and that's how you're going to continue for the rest of the hat. Now one way of how you can count your stitches from here on is right here. Let's go right here. We have this little dip that you can see right there, so that would be row 4, and then this other dip right here, that would be another 4 rows. So in total here, we have 8 rows. Another way is to count these stitches right here. These are the stitches that we slip. So far, I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that we have 8 rows here of the pattern. I am showing you this because I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do. It all depends how much this part here measures once I get to those rows. And really all I'm doing here is just repeating these 4 rows for the pattern. So continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do here. So I'll meet you at the end of that row. I finished the body of the hat. I did a total of 16 repeats plus 2 rows of the 17th repeat. So in total, I have 66 rows. If you count each one of the slip stitches starting from this first row up to the last one that's on the needles, I have a total of 35 slip stitches. Now, if you have 1 or 2 rows less or more, it's okay. Here, this part, it's measuring with the folded brim like this. It's measuring about 19.5 centimeters, which is about 7.75 inches. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and make one more row where I just knit all around. This is to make sure that all of the stitches are facing the same direction. So for row 67 here, all I'm going to do is just knit all around. After I finish this row, I'm going to go ahead and tell you how you need to place your stitch markers so that we can start and shape the top of the hat. We're going to start to decrease and give it some shape. So here for row 67, all you need to do is just knit all around. So you knit the purl stitches and knit the knit stitches all around. Continue and finish this row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of row 67. I have the last 2 stitches here at the end. Now here at the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit 2 together so that at the end of row 67, I have a total of 128 stitches. I need to make sure that at the end of this row, whatever number of stitches I have, it's multiples of 8. So knit 2 together here at the end. And this is how I finish row 67 with 128 stitches. Now, to place our stitch markers to start and decrease the top of the hat, what I did is I have 128 stitches. I divided that by 8. That gives me 16. So I have 16 stitch markers all around. And in between the stitch markers, I have 8 stitches. So to begin here and decrease, we're going to decrease every other row. So to begin here, row 1 of the top of the hat, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to knit up to the last 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So here I'm going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Before I continue, I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark this first row here of decrease, since I'm going to decrease every other row. Make sure that your beginning of the row stitch marker is in a different color than the rest of the stitch markers. Now I knit 6, 2, 4, 6. So these last 2 stitches here, I'm going to knit 2 together and pass the stitch marker. Again, I'm going to knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then knit 2 together. One more time. Knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then knit 2 together, and so on. This is how I'm going to continue all around for row 1 of the top of the hat. I will meet you here at the end of this first row. I'm here at the end of row 1 of the top of the hat where we have decreased in this row. Now here at the end, I did my last knit 2 together. I have my beginning of the row stitch marker, so I'm going to go ahead and pass that. At the end of this row, I have a total of 112 stitches. Now for row 2, all I'm going to do is just knit all around. So for this part here, all I'm going to do is just decrease every other row. Continue and finish the second row where you just knit all around, and at the end of this row you're also going to have 112 stitches. I'll come back and show you row 3. That is where we're going to decrease. I finished the second row of the top of the hat. That is where I knit all around. Now for row 3 we're going to decrease, so I'm going to knit up to the last 2 stitches and then knit 2 together. So to begin here, I'm going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now knit 2 together, pass the stitch marker and repeat. Knit 5, and then knit 2 together. This is how you're going to continue all around for this third row. You just knit 5, then knit 2 together. Continue and finish this third row. I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the third row. In this row, I have decreased here the last 2 stitches. I knit 2 together. At the end of this third row, I have a total of 96 stitches. So every time we do the decreasing row, we are decreasing by 16 stitches. Now for row 4, all we're going to do is just knit all around, just like this. And at the end of this row, you will also have 96 stitches. Continue, finish this row. I will meet you at the end. I finished the 4th row. In this row, I knit all around. I have 96 stitches. I also went ahead and switched to these longer knitting needles so that I can continue and decrease with better comfort. I'm going to continue with the magic loop technique. You can also switch to double pointed needles. I'm going to continue with these longer needles. Now for row 5, this is a decreasing row. So here's my beginning of the row stitch marker. So here I'm going to knit 4. And then I'm going to decrease. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now knit 2 together. Pass the stitch marker, knit 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then knit 2 together. And this is how I'm going to continue for row 5. Go ahead and finish. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of row 5. In this row, we have decreased. At the end of this row, I have a total of 80 stitches. Now for row 6, all we're going to do here is just knit all around. We're not going to decrease, just knit all around. So to begin here, row 6, just knit the first stitch and every stitch all around. Continue and finish this 6th row. I will meet you at the end. I finished row 6. In this row, I just knit all around and I have 80 stitches at the end of that row. Now for row 7, this is a decreasing row, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to knit 3. 1, 2, 3, and now knit 2 together. Pass the stitch marker and repeat the same thing. Knit 3, knit 2 together. Pass the stitch marker and repeat the same thing. Knit 3, then knit 2 together. This is how I'm going to continue all around for row 7. At the end of this 7th row, I'm going to have 64 stitches. And then I'm going to continue with row 8. For row 8, all we're going to do is just knit all around. So go ahead and finish the 7th row and then finish row 8. I will meet you at the end of the 8th row. I finished row 7. At the end of that row, I had 64 stitches. That was a decreasing row. And then I did row 8, and that is where I knit all around. And at the end of that row, I had 64 stitches. Now for row 9, all I'm going to do is just knit 2 together all around. So beginning here, I'm going to start with knit 2 together, and then knit 2 together. Remove the stitch marker and repeat. Knit 2 together all around, just like this. After this row, I'm going to go ahead and close the top of the hat. So finish row 9. I will meet you at the end. I finished row 9. In this row, I knit 2 together all around. I have a total of 32 stitches. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove my stitches and just close the top of the hat. I ran out of yarn. This is all the yarn that I have left, which is just enough for me to close the top of the hat. So here, what I'm going to do is with the yarn needle, I'm going to start here. This is the first stitch, so I'm just going to remove all of these stitches all around, and then I'm just going to gather all my stitches and close the top of the hat. Here's the last stitch. Now this is the beginning, so hold on to this loop here, and just pass the yarn needle through this loop and pull. What this does is create a knot there, and that secures the stitches. Now we're going to insert the needle through the inside, through the wrong side here, and I'm just going to go all around one more time and just weave this tail end around the stitches that we have here. Now, if you have more yarn left and want to do one more row where you just knit together again, you can do that. I just ran out of yarn and I was afraid I wouldn't have enough if I did that for the next row. But 32 stitches here is not so bad to close the top of the hat, so I'll show you how it looks once we're done with this part here. Just pull tight, and now just find a spot where you can secure and make a knot here. And the top of the hat is closed. Let's see. Here's the top, and that's how it looks. Perfect. Now you can add a pompon. I think I'll go ahead and do that, add a pompon, and then I'll come back and show you the finished hat and give you the finished measurements. Okay, here's the finished hat. I went ahead and attached a pompon. Now these are fur pompons. I purchased these from Amazon. They're fake fur. If I find the link to the ones I purchased, I'll leave it down here in the information box. But you can just easily search on Amazon 5-inch fur pompons, and I'm sure you'll be able to see the same ones here. So the hat is all done. This is how it looks. I absolutely love this stitch pattern. It's so comfortable to wear, and it's very stretchy, so it accommodates very well to many different head sizes. So let me give you the finished measurement now that it is finished. The total length of the hat from the top of the hat to the bottom, it's measuring about, let's see, 8.5 inches, which is about 21.5 centimeters. Now this measurement here, the width, just the top, not really the circumference, just the finished measurement, the width here, it's about 9 inches, which is about 23 centimeters. So based on these measurements, along with the number of stitches that I cast on, I'd say that this hat is for children 10 and up, teens, adult women, and men, with a head circumference between 21 and 23 inches. For children, I would probably make it a little bit shorter, only make 14 or 15 repeats, keep the brim along with the decreasing rows the same. For adult men, I make the brim a little bit wider, maybe make 20 rows, and then make the full 17 repeats along with the same decreasing rows. Just make it a little bit longer. This stitch pattern is very stretchy, so it does accommodate beautifully in various head sizes. In the information box, you can find all of this information. So make sure to look there if you want to adjust any of these sizes. And as always, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop in the information box below. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, so this was today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.